and welcome to the Nicki Sun Show. I'm your host, Nicki Sun, and I am so honored to be in conversation with a personal friend of mine who has taken the dance world by storm. Award-winning choreographer and dancer, Joya Kazi. How are you?
Hey, I'm so good. I'm so proud. I'm like beaming with pride right now just seeing you do this.
Oh,
I know
you.
this is like my interview, but I'm so proud of you, Nikki, and it's an honor to be here with you on your show.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, we know each other. We come from a little town in the Bay Area called Fremont.
The nickel and dime, baby. That's where we're from. That's where we grew up. That's where we met. Elementary school.
Yes. Nickel and dime, for those who don't know, 510, so 510. So that's our area code. Just for FYI. I feel like a lot of people know 808, but they don't know nickel dime.
Well, it's about time to learn, okay?
It's about time to learn the nickel and dime. But yeah, can you tell the viewers, where are we right now?
Well, we're here in my humble abode, my backyard. You know, we thought we would give Nikki an amazing studio, the dance space, a really nice, filming area, because I was like, this girl needs quality. And she was like, you know what, can we do the backyard? So here we are. This is my garden that I really put so much love into actually around the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do. My life was like, who am I if I'm not dancing or teaching or choreographing?
Yeah.
I felt like I had no identity, and so I became a farmer.
I love that, because walking into your beautiful home, might I say, we were just all, like the whole crew and I were like, wow, this is nice. Like, the succulents are succulenting.
Yeah.
And like the roses are rosing. You're married now. You just celebrated 10 years.
10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But yeah, tell us what it's been, your journey from Fremont to here. Why did you move here in the first place?
Well, I grew up as an Indian classical dancer. I grew up studying Indian classical dance. And even in school, I feel like it was always this hidden life in a way, because at that time it just felt so othering to be like, I'm an Indian classical dancer. And even when people would ask me, what are you doing after school? I'd say, oh, I'm going to go take my Odissi class. And they'd be like, Odissi? You mean Odyssey of the Mind? And I'm like, no, it's an Indian classical dance. It's from Orissa. And I just like got over having to constantly explain it. And so it just became this secret part of I wouldn't say secret. It was just a different part of my life that I didn't necessarily share with everyone at school, just because it required so much explaining.
Yeah.
But I grew up as a student of the arts, and I started dancing because of Michael Jackson's Black or White music video.
Yes.
Which
That's what you first saw.
an Indian classical dancer,
Yeah.
and so I was born in Mumbai, moved here with my parents before my first birthday, and we first moved to Hayward in Northern California, and we didn't have too much of like a very big South Asian community at that time, and my mom and dad were in their early 20s. They were like 23, 24 years old, just starting their careers and their lives. They came here without a single friend or family member in this country with this little baby, and they did their best. My mom was a radio journalist for 25 years. My dad was modeling and going to aviation academy, so he became a pilot. And in the middle of all of this, they did their best to really raise me in a very cultured way. And my mom and dad are actually two different religions. So my mom's Hindu and my dad's Muslim. So
I mean, just that is a whole nother conversation.
that's a whole
in
other
itself.
conversation
Yeah.
for another time.
Yeah.
But because of that, I feel like in our home, religion wasn't really something where you had to pick a side, and it was like very strict. For us, it was really about taking the best of the values and who you are as a person and respecting everybody. And dance really became my religion and my way of life, because spiritually, Indian classical dance is very one with the universe and who you are as a person, how you move through space. And that really dictates your morals, your values, how you treat people, how you treat Mother Earth, and just the energy, the energetic vibrations of the universe.
Yeah.
And so I was so lucky to be able to see a South Asian dancer for the very first time in the Black or White music video. And I must have been 3 or 4 years old at the time. And I was so enamored by this dancer, because it's the first time that you're really seeing someone. And I don't think we understand how impactful that moment can be for a young child who's surrounded by people who don't look like her. She's always othered. She's always a little different. And this was that one time where the man that I loved, Michael Jackson, was, bringing in this gorgeous brown-skinned, big-eyed, bindi-wearing classical dancer. And I told my mom in that moment that I want to dance like her. I want to do this. And of course, it was because I thought I could marry Michael Jackson if I did that,
Yeah.
right? And then just tour the world with him. My life
Yeah.
is set. But I was really lucky that my mom actually listened to that and saw that I had like a knack for rhythm and just
Yeah.
moving and the art. And so just a few weeks later, I started my very first dance class, which was an Odissi dance style. And that kind of started my entire journey of studying more than just one style of dance. I moved on to North Indian dance, which is Kathak, South Indian to Bharatanatyam, and like it became my world. And I felt like every day I was learning so much. And when I was listening to my gurus or dancing or rehearsing, like something just felt so right and so fulfilling. I felt complete. And I just felt like this is something I can never let go of, you know?
Yeah.
And I really dedicated my life to just learning and being a student of the dance. And it wasn't until I was about 12 that I went to these there's these Bollywood actor touring shows. So you'll have all the actors come together. They perform their like greatest hits from films. And I went to this with my parents, and my mom pointed out a choreographer, Shamak Davar, and he's very, very well-known choreographer. He brought in contemporary and ballet dance for the first time to India, but at that time I had no idea who he was. And it was also the moment that I realized that you can do this as a career. You
Yeah.
can create movement, and I'm looking at all these dancers, right? It's a sea of dancers behind the biggest stars of Bollywood, and I didn't even care about the Bollywood actors. I was like looking at the dancers, and they're like full energy, sweating, having a great time. I like dance after dance, set after set, and then amazing costuming and wardrobe and like the lighting, the stage setup. And I was like, wow, this man created this is stuff that he thought about, and it has come alive on stage. And that was the day when we were driving home. My mom and dad were sitting in the car, and I was like, excuse me, I think I have something to say. They're like, yes. And my dad's looking at me through the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
I said, I want to grow up and be a choreographer. And they both look at each other. Now, keep in mind, like, I know that the stereotype is that, like, South Asian parents want you to be doctors, lawyers, and engineers.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were definitely not that. But at the same time, there was a little bit of hesitation, right? Because they've given up their lives to come here to create something where there is, you know, there's, there isn't an unknown.
Yeah.
We're setting you up so you can do better than we did.
Than we did.
Right? So there was definitely a hesitation, but they said at the end, you know, no matter what you do it with so much love and dedication that you have to be the best. They're like, if you want to be a janitor, but be the best.
Be the best janitor.
Be the
Yeah.
best janitor. So they said, we're here to support you, but you have to work really, really hard, even more than a conventional job. But if you're true to yourself and you stay dedicated, you can do whatever you want.
Wow. Thanks, mom and dad.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I think especially in the Asian community, we do get hit with like, well, you got to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. So when you have two people who want very much to be a part of the arts world and in single-handedly in doing so, you're inspiring others to go for their dreams as well. It's just truly magical. So just shout out to Joya's parents for allowing her to
Thanks, Mom and
continue this
Daddy.
craft because what a craft it's been, what a journey it's been. I mean, you have choreographed scenes in Netflix's Never Have I Ever. You have choreographed for New Girl. You just recently choreographed for Saweetie's Shadow Clock music video.
Actually, I didn't choreograph for New Girl. That
Okay.
was Ajitha McDaniels, but I was very lucky. She featured me as a dancer in that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. See, I love it. We're giving credit to where credit's due. But speaking of that, like if I were to edit a highlight reel of your life,
Yeah.
what would be the top 3 things in it?
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. Okay, so I would first say that one of the biggest moments, which is a lot more internal than external, was performing at the IFA Awards, which is the Indian Oscars. And the very first set that I did was with Priyanka Chopra, Jonas Now.
Oh, Jonas, yeah.
Yes. So this was back in like 2014, and it was like the first big award show that I've ever done. We did it at the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida, and over 50,000 people in the audience. And I just remember that we were all standing on stage, ready to go. Priyanka is standing straight center, and these huge LED doors open up. And I just see like this crowd, like the biggest crowd I have ever performed for. And I felt that moment in me where I was like, you're doing it. You are doing it. This is what you wanted to do. You're doing it. And it was just this explosion of joy. So that was probably like the first big moment. The second is that going back to Tampa Bay earlier this year, I directed my own tour called Rhythm India, and we were back in Tampa Bay, and I had the same sort of feeling, but this time it was with my own dance company with me, standing on
Which,
stage.
by the way, you started at how old?
I started my company at 16.
16. I don't even know what I was doing at 16, just taking my driver's test. You started a whole LLC when you were 16. I mean, that's pretty inspiring, just letting you know that.
So that's definitely the second. And
Yeah.
I feel like it was such a, full circle moment for me, like almost a decade later, to be back in that same city, having the curtains open and looking out at people now, not just me backing up for another artist, but people are cheering my name.
Yeah.
And they're there for me. And then I would say the third would have to be that's a really tough one. I've been so blessed with so many cool things. I mean, of course, Never Have I Ever, I think, is just so iconic on so many different levels.
Yeah.
And it's beyond my internal journey. And it's something that has impacted the world, not just our community, not just the South Asian community or the entertainment industry for South Asians. It's the world. I mean, I've had people from all around messaging me that they felt so seen just from that first dance scene in season 1.
Yeah.
Which is the Ganesh Puja scene. It's during a Ganesh festival. And it was just so realistic. And I think personally for me, it was one of the first times, if not the first, where the directors just said, you're the expert, we're going to defer to you. So whether it was wardrobe or choreography or how things would be staged, I didn't have to come in and fit everything to someone else's template. Even though they didn't quite understand the culture, those small nuances, they let me do it the right way. And that collaboration and allowing me to do my job enabled that scene to be so successful. So that's, I would say, from stage to film, like TV, these are just, I never dreamt that I could really do those things. I probably only thought I would, start my academy and just like be the best teacher for the rest of my life. I didn't really think too much about being on camera.
Yeah.
And I feel like the universe in the last couple years has really pushed me to be on camera, because for Never Have I Ever, I wasn't supposed to be on camera. I was just choreographing, helping creatively direct, doing wardrobe. And then after I submitted the rehearsal videos, then I find out, oh, Mindy wants you to actually be on camera.
Yeah.
I'm
Mindy
like-
Kaling, just for those who are like, just Mindy first name, Mindy Kaling. I just wanted to ask you about that because, yeah, dancer, choreographer, and you're being able to make these decisions where they actually just will trust you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like that.
Not at all.
Can you talk about the challenges bringing classical Indian dance, even Bollywood, authentically on screen, and what maybe the challenges were for you to feel like, I need to do this. I need to tell them how it is. What's up?
Yeah, there's so many layers to this. So, I definitely want to preface this with saying that the choreographers that were in LA before I ever moved here are the ones that really had to do that, the difficult work of just educating people, even on the fact that there is a dance style that comes from India and what is it. They're the ones that really had to barge in, just take those doors down and really show people what it is that we have. So it was definitely a little easier when I came in, but there's just still so many other obstacles. So I think I really solidified what my objective was with a professional dance career in college. So I was a theater and dance major, emphasis in choreography and production management. And even though I had studied 7 styles of Indian classical dance from the best of the best gurus whose family lineages have actually developed these methods of these dance styles. None of my dance experience counted for anything.
Wow.
I was not seen as a dancer, period. Like,
Mhm.
people were concerned when I was auditioning for the Paul Taylor intensive because they didn't think I could keep up because I didn't have ballet training, right? So
Mm.
that's how it was. I just wasn't seen as a dancer. And so there was a particular event that I went to. They were featuring some of the master's students and their pieces, and I happened to run into one of the directors of the dance program. And my one of my instructors, my professor, introduced me and told her, "Oh, she's a Indian classical dancer." And the director said, "Oh, so you dance like this?"
Ooh, okay.
And I was like,
Ignorance at its finest.
"Quite,
Uh,
not quite," you know. And she's like, "Oh, I
yeah.
love belly dancing."
Yeah.
So
Mm.
not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just incorrect, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just started realizing that I was getting erased because I wasn't doing the European styles of dance.
Yeah.
And you can't really blame anybody. It's just a thing of that there's not enough people to showcase it. You have to take on that role of educating if you want to change it. Now, that's also not a role that everyone has to take, nor does everyone want to take because it's exhausting and can be very infuriating at times. But I was like, I need to be the person to show people that Indian classical dance styles are so diverse, so rich in tradition. I mean, these are dance styles that are tens of thousands of years old that have been passed down generation to generation. They have survived the British rule where all art forms were outlawed. You know, you could lose your life for practicing any type of theater or music or art. These are very culturally rich and historically rich art forms that are very alive today and vibrant. And I was like, I'm going to be the person to do that. So it was always my goal to really elevate Indian dance styles and show people that we can actually bridge the classical and commercial worlds of the East and West together, and we can bring them to the West.
Mhm.
So having said that, once I moved here, you know, I got my first meeting with agents and they wanted to sign me for dance and commercials and all of that, but not choreography. Why? Because at the time there was already one choreographer in all of LA that had already been signed for Bollywood work.
Mm.
And I guess one is enough.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's fine. That's okay.
We can have one. We can't have two. Two is like, ooh.
Yeah.
One is great.
You can have 50 hip hoppers at one agency. You
Yeah.
can have 50, you know, salsa dancers. You can have multiple aerial artists, but you can only have one in all of LA signed at any of the multiple agencies, you know.
Mhm.
So they loved my look. They're like, you look very, you know, you have a commercial look and uh, you're great and you can do all styles and all that stuff, but we just don't really see what we can do with the Bollywood stuff.
Mm.
And I realized that I'm not going to get opportunities from the regular like the usual modes of work. So I just said I have to build my own table. I'm going to make my own work. I'll figure it out. So relaunched my company here in LA about, I'd say 12, 13 years ago. And I just started knocking on doors and creating my own pitches and sending to directors. And of course, it took a very, very, very long time, you know, 8, 9 years down the road, of also working with a lot of people who, when I would come in, their vision is shiny sequin. Let's bring a cow onto set because we don't know that it's Indian unless there's a cow and a snake charmer, you know, like those kind of things. And when I would present them with something or try to explain the idea to them, they weren't so keen on it because it's very difficult to imagine something that you've never seen.
Yes.
And if no one else has done it and you don't know if it will work commercially or be successful, what are you going to do? You're going to say, no, we're going to turn to what has worked for us. Right. But for me, I also understand that I not only represent the South Asian Americans here, because that is my story, but I also represent South Asians in India. And because of my classical training, I feel like I'm held to a much higher level of expectation of doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think through the years of being able to constantly put out work that is me, that is true to my heart and my mind, and still being able to experiment with that to try and create a commercial style that also is palatable in the West without ridding it of the integrity or the actual soul of it, is what has allowed me to get to these points where, I actually got the call for Never Have I Ever, and I was in shock. I was like,
Yeah, how
which
did that happen? Is it your agents, or is like your site and they're like, we want Mindy specifically and Lang specifically wanted a
I didn't
Bollywood
have an
dance
agent.
agent?
I didn't have an
Yeah.
agent. No agent would sign me for choreography or anything. And I actually, that original agency, I left after 3 months because it really wasn't doing anything for me. So I would say that the way it happened is that throughout these years of just like sticking to what it is that I know and what I believe, my work was out there and people saw the quality, and I got the phone call just directly, and I was in shock because I think when you're so used to hustling all the time and like breaking your back, and you're like, I'm
And
working
you're
like,
pitching.
yeah,
Yeah.
60 hours a week, and that was also, girl boss era. We don't sleep. We work
Mm.
all day. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep. Like, that was the life. And I was like, wait, how did I get this so easily? And it was something that my mom said. My mom was like, "You didn't get this easily. You have spent,
Hmm.
your entire life working up to this moment where people know of your work and they're calling you."
Yeah. And
You
your work
know?
speaks for itself too. People call you because they know exactly what you bring and they want that.
Yeah.
Did you know who was calling? And then when they say that they're calling, you were like, For sure? Are you for real?" Like,
Well, I mean, at first I was just like, what? This is really weird. How can it be so easy? But then as I kept talking, and then I found out that it's this untitled project that Mindy Kaling and Lang Fisher are writing. I knew immediately because they had also done open call auditions for the cast, and it was a huge thing in the South Asian and entertainment communities because it was the first time that they were just opening it up to everybody. So there was already talk through the grapevine that there is something that's brewing. So once I found that out, I was like, I don't even care what the show is or anything. Mindy Kaling, Langfisher, let's go. Let's make it happen.
yeah.
So it was really fun, and I got to work with Salvador Perez, who is the costume designer, or he was on season one, in bringing in clothing that would be a lot more realistic, that isn't too outdated, things like that. But it was a lot to handle for season one, and I actually hesitated when they asked me to be on screen because when you're choreographing, directing, you're doing wardrobe, you're making sure your dancers are okay, you got a block, you realize you have a lot less space than before. There's so much going on, and then you also can't be sweaty or looking tired or anything. You have to be on camera, on point, and you can't watch the monitors to see what's happening. It's overwhelming. So I was very close to saying no, and then I just said, "You know what? Who are you to say no to the universe when they're literally bringing you something on a golden platter? Do not do that. Do not say no." So I tried my best to step up. It was hard. It was challenging, for sure. But I'm so glad that I stepped up to the plate and I did that. And it made season 4 all the more
Can we talk
special.
about season 4? Because I mean, I love the show, by the way, because I feel so seen. Even though I am not South Asian, we grew up in Fremont. We went to UC Davis. I lived in Sherman Oaks, so Sherman Oaks High School. So
Hey.
I was like, and then her father passed away,
Yeah.
and my dad did too. So I just felt so seen in all those ways, and just seeing you in the show when I was watching season 1, and then building it up to, yeah, in season 1 you appeared, you acted, but why was that dance in that was such a memorable. I don't want to spoil it for people who have not seen season 4 of Never Have I Ever, but what made it so special for you?
Yeah, I think, there's two parts to it. So one is working with the actors as actors, and then also working with those same actors who I have a personal relationship with now. So actually, Rich and I grew up together in the same family circle. We're both from the Bay Area. We went to college together. She was on my dance team. So, and we've worked together for many years, just in LA before she was on Never Have I Ever. So I already have a pretty good relationship with her where I know how she dances, I know what she can take on. And with Maitri, this was the first time that she was going to be doing something like this in a very limited amount of time. But being able to see her grow from season 1 to season 4 as an actual person in real life, and then taking on this challenge as, she's not a professional dancer and will be dancing next to a professional dancer, and she's going to do this in just a couple hours.
Yeah, same day choreograph and learning
Couple
everything.
hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so proud of her. Like from the first rehearsal, like first hour of rehearsal to that last hour that we were rehearsing, and just like blocking on set, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And character-wise, it's this beautiful, it's that growth of fully embracing who you are and not hiding any part of yourself, right? Season 1, when she sees Preeti, my character, she's like, ew, what is this? This is like so embarrassing, right? It would be so weird if they were doing this in any other place. But then now she's stepping into that role. She's decked out in this gorgeous sari. She's performing and dancing a song of her own culture. It's such a beautiful growth to see her from season 1 to season 4.
You're talking about seeing that growth and how Maitri's character didn't like it or accept it. Personally, because it seems like you have a lot of confidence, enjoying what you do, and then you're proud. But did you ever feel a sense of like, I don't belong or I'm not proud of my culture? Because it feels like you have, but I just want to
Yeah,
know that arc for
I
you.
I've always been proud of my culture. I will say that there have been times, and this is I hate to even think about this, but there have been times where I thought I wouldn't be good at something because of my Indianness. So there was in high school we had a talent show, and I think my own personal, like my close friends knew that I could, I would do like little Michael Jackson tributes and dances outside of school. And then that kind of went down the grapevine to ASB, and they came and they're like, oh, you should do your Michael Jackson routine. And I was like, no, 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 I can't do that here. And I just felt like, how can I do this at school? Everyone's like a ballet dancer, a hip hop dancer, contemporary dancers. And then I've never formally trained in those at that point. I've only done Indian classical dance. I'm going to be so bad in front of these people. However, I get standing ovations in like packed theaters in my own community. So that was like one thing where I felt like I wouldn't be good enough. I still did it, and then I was shocked that I got a standing ovation in school. And like everyone thought I was the coolest person. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I feel like I just kept, I feel like I protected that side of myself. But, definitely, I think growing up, like if we were going to a family party and we had to stop by the grocery store to pick up flowers and I'm in a lehenga, I wouldn't get out the car. I'm like, no, mama, you can go get the flowers. I'll
Wow.
just wait in the car. And now I will be fully decked out. I don't care, and I'll go to school. But I think that stemmed from an incident in the first grade where I had henna, mehendi, and I had gone to a wedding, and so I got all the designs and I came to school.
Which is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, it's freaking phenomenal. It's like wearing art, right?
Yeah.
And I went to school, and in front of the entire class, one of the girls was like, ew, Joya has poop on her hands.
Oh my God.
Can I say that on camera? I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can.
But she said that, and everyone was like, ew. And I just wanted to like disappear.
Oh my gosh.
And that was when I was 6 years old, and I was so scarred by that moment of
course.
showcasing anything that was Indian or of my culture at school.
Mhm.
I never wore mehendi ever again until over 20 years ago at my best friend's wedding.
Wow.
And so I think it was really just that I didn't feel like it would be accepted.
Mhm.
But I was never embarrassed. I feel like I was protecting that away from people who wouldn't understand it.
Seeing it now that Bollywood is so cool, classical Indian dance is so cool. I mean, what do you have to say to the people who kind of said those things to you in the past?
I mean, I don't have anything to say because at the end of the day, you guys are having golden lattes, you're wearing bindis to festivals, like you're doing the coconut oil and omelet oil in your hair, you love garlic naan. Like I think also everyone grows up and we understand and our
Mhm.
worlds become more broad and it's part of growth. So I mean, I'm just glad that I never abandoned that part of myself because it really truly is what has guided me through life, you know?
Yeah, and that's the joyful part of it. I mean, speaking of your name, Joya, because my last name is Sun too, so
Yeah.
I always have to ask fellow people with like names, like, do you ever feel pressure that I have to be joyful all the time? I know you're just naturally joyful, but I'm sure there's times behind scenes are like, oh my god, I just wanna, it's
No,
not as
no.
joyful.
No, and I don't think that that's the expectation. I definitely am, I feel like I'm a person who loves being in the limelight, but I also love just like sitting at home on the couch in my pajamas, eating popcorn, watching a movie on a Friday night. I do not need to be out, So I think I kind of like move based off of what I'm feeling, and I think as we've gotten older, you just really get in tune with that because you realize that at the end of the day, you only have one body, one self. You can't live for other people. I had a really scary incident last year where I was actually held up at gunpoint
Oh my
in
god.
the middle of filming for a new rom-com series, which I will tell you about. But
Okay. That
that was a
doesn't
lot
go
all at
that
once.
doesn't even go together. I was like rom-com, held at gunpoint.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
please
we
tell
were
me that was part of the scene.
no, we were actually moving from one location to the next, but I had a gun to my head, and in that very moment, it was just like, I was really, really calm, and I just accepted what would happen either way. I just
Wow.
accepted it,
Yeah.
and I really think that the heavens parted and my guardian angels were there, and I really was taken care of in that moment. But after that, I was just like, I don't have energy for anything that doesn't bring me joy
Joy.
or
Yeah.
happiness, and I think also a huge part of it is that I've hustled for so long. I've worked for so long, starting my company at 16 when my friends would go to the mall and hang out. I was going around putting up flyers for my dance classes. In college, I was a double major and a minor. I started the very first competitive Bollywood dance team at UC Davis. I was working for a dance company. I was also working 3 other jobs around campus. Like, I didn't have time for social life or anything. Moved out to LA. I was living out here by myself, auditioning, hustling, building the company, training people. And then all of a sudden you stop and you're like, holy crap, I'm 35 years old. When did I get here?
Mhm.
And I feel like I've put in the work and I've exhausted myself. And now is the time for me to just take it easy and enjoy life. And I'm a Virgo, so I'm very like particular about everything. I used to have like my quarterly goals and my annual goals, and I was very meticulous about everything. And growing up in the Bay Area, we're like bred to be high achievers and all this kind of stuff. And that was kind of how I approached my career from a very young age. But the entertainment industry and a career as a professional dancer and choreographer doesn't quite fit into that template. And so very early on when I first moved out, like 21, 22 years old, I used to get so discouraged that I didn't achieve a certain goal that I had in that amount. Like, I have to be choreographer on this television show within the year, and I didn't do it, I must suck. That's how I was. And I finally got to a point where I was like, there is timing in the universe, and there are certain experiences and obstacles and challenges that I have to learn from to be ready for the things that the universe has for me. And I got to a point in my life where I was okay with releasing this need to go down my checklist and have accolade after accolade after accolade. I said, no, I am my accolade, making, my morals, my values, the way I move through space, how I interact with people, and the work that I bring to sets is my accolade. That is all I have to focus on. Everything else that is meant for me will come to me. If it's meant for me, there's no way it won't come to me. And I just got to this point where I was okay with not needing to find the work all the time and allowing what's best for me to come to me.
And being better about receiving too.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was very difficult to let go
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
am, also we're female entrepreneurs, we're very independent. You got to be in control of everything because this is your name on the line. I let go a little bit and just allowed myself to be open to the opportunities that the universe was presenting to me. So, like never have I ever. I wasn't supposed to be on screen, but I was like, okay, maybe I should. And because of that, then I got other opportunities where they had me as a choreographer, but also had me on screen. And then I screen tested for my very first feature Bollywood film,
Wow.
where my character was also a dancer, and it was supposed to be for the title song. I was down to one of the last two. Um, I guess, last two people auditioning for it. I didn't book it, but that's how far I got. And then, just one thing led to the next, and that's where Bollywood Dance Academy is the name of the series. It's a rom-com series that I shot last year, and it should be releasing later this year. But I play the lead role, and I was a theater and dance major in school. I did short films and acting stuff when I was younger, but I really honed in on the dancing, and my goal was to really make Indian dance visible. But I feel like I've gotten to the point where I've gotten the nominations, I've gotten awards, that ball is rolling. I have achieved a lot of what I dreamt of and more, even beyond that. And that's okay. That will never leave me. And now is the time to really step outside of my comfort zone, challenge myself in new ways. And so, yeah, like now I've been delving into a lot of acting and auditioning, and
Have you
it's
been embracing it a lot more?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I feel
Fun fact, when you type in Joya Kazi on Google, because I looked it up on mine too, it says it attributes your title more to actor. It didn't say anything about dancing or choreographer. Like the first thing, when you pull people up, it
yeah.
says Joya Kazi, it says actor. And for me
What?
too, it says director. It doesn't say hosting or interview. So I was like, that's interesting. I guess I'm that too. But the thing that I probably am most known for is probably not that. And
Yeah.
so I was just
I
like,
didn't
oh,
know
it's
that.
very interesting to see that because you've done so much. You're a multi-hyphenate. What would you like it to say next for you?
Definitely, for me, I feel like I can never leave the dancing aspect. I love directing and creating and just imagining things and putting that on stage. Like I feel like it's such a gift. It comes from somewhere else, and of course, you have to have the skill set and work on that to be able to do all of that. But I remember when I was younger, especially, I would dream full sequences and wake up the next morning, write down the notes really quickly, and go to the studio and teach that to my dance team. Like that, it's something that's so special. And for a while, I had to kind of let go of it because it scared me too much, that you're just like opened to this like different creative world. But like I'm receiving that back again, and it's just such a joy to create and work with dancers and this next generation of dancers that are coming into the space. Because when I first came out, there were very, very, very few. I could count on one hand how many South Asian professional dancers there were in LA, on one hand.
Wow.
And now we have handfuls. And so I love working with them, creating with them, seeing how they work and what sort of magic we can create together. So I definitely want to continue as a director, and I would love to continue directing, dance films or even just movement direction.
Yeah.
And that's behind the scenes, but I really want to see what I can achieve on camera.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that could be as a dancer, as as an actor, a dance actress, whatever it is. I'm not gonna put it into a little like pigeonhole, but I feel like that's kind of my next calling.
All right. I need to talk technique with you because I took the Never Have I Ever special dance class. So
Yes.
with you as the choreographer, there were probably 100, 200 people in that dance studio learning from you directly the Saami Saami song.
Yeah.
I could not keep up. So I was like, how do you choreograph these songs? Like, can you take us through the process? Like, when you're assigned a song,
Yeah.
do you like listen to it? Are you in sound baths? Are you in salt caves? Like what is your process to choreograph, retain it, and then teach other people? Because that is a talent that I it's beyond me. Like I can't.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So there's two ways of approaching, right? So I talk about choreography for entertainment versus choreography for art. So when you're creating for art, this is something that comes directly from your heart, from your own brain. You can go in any direction that you want. You can fit into any template that you want, and you really truly just create for yourself. That is art. Yes? Now when you create for entertainment, it's a job. There are deadlines. There's a script. There is an objective. There are also actors that you have to think about making look good. And it's not about showing off and saying like, "Oh, I choreographed all of this. Look what I can do." It's about making sure that your actors look phenomenal in whatever it is that you give them, right? So there's so many different layers. And then you're also thinking about the actors as real life people and also who they are as characters.
Mhm.
Is this type of movement realistic to who they are? Is this what they would actually do? Is this the way
Okay.
that they would move? When you're thinking about the texture of the movements, is this how that character would move? So there's a lot to think about. So I really try to balance a little bit of what the director wants, because when I'm hired as a choreographer, it's my responsibility and my job to bring the director's vision to life. But I'm also coming in as a specialist in my dance style. So I'm here to bring in all of the extra decorations to make it look perfect, you know? So for Never Have I Ever, because it was a Tamil song this time around. So the first time we did a Bollywood song, Nagada Sang Tol in season 1. So that was in Hindi, and that's one of my, languages that I speak. So this one was in Tamil, which I don't know. So my best friend from college knows Tamil. I got her on the phone with her 2 kids in the background yelling and everything. She helped me, fully translate everything, because I wanted to make sure that the choreography made sense to the actual lyrics, and just created from there. And then understanding what Devi, what her character would be like. She's a person who probably has never danced, and so the choreography has to be very cute and sweet and simple, but something where she can really shine, and that it should still bring that innocence, a little bit of like, I would say whatever the opposite of refinement is, because Rich's character is refinement. She's done this. She's from the motherland, right?
Yeah.
She's ready to go. But there's something so raw and cute and beautiful of seeing someone who has never even moved in this way, dancing that way. So finding the moves that would allow Richa to look phenomenal in what it is that she's doing, and Maitri to look so cute and perfect in her own way. That's kind of like what I'm thinking about. But there's also times where, for example, for Saweetie's music video that I did, Shot O'Clock, I was already working on a commercial shoot at the time, got home really late, heard the song, and started choreographing around midnight. Finished around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I gotta wake up at 6 a.m. to head to shoot. I didn't know how many dancers. I didn't know, will there be men? Will there be women? Like nothing. All I knew was it's inspired by 50s glamour. It has to have a Bollywood feel to it, and it's a rap video. So what does that look like? I really don't know. So I had 3 hours. I just created whatever I created, went to the studio, and even on the way to the studio, I didn't know who my dancers are or anything or how many there would be. And in a case like that, you can't come prepared. You have to just trust that you have prepared your whole life with the skill set that will allow you to choreograph on the spot, make changes, kind of go with the flow, and put it together. Because we only had 1 day of rehearsal for that and shot the next day.
I don't know how you do this, but it's a testament to you as an amazing choreographer, because you're saying Maitri learned hours before she had to perform it with multiple camera angles, and with the Saweetie music video, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, the next day.
Yeah, I met all the dancers and Saweetie on the same day, and within that, I have to give them separate choreography, and I'm also working with Saweetie for the first time, so I want to make sure that she feels comfortable, I understand who she is, but I think it was easy, one, because I already come in as a creative who is open to understanding that the mold has to constantly be changing, and you can't be tied down to what your initial vision was. I've come a lot of other creatives, whether they're choreographers or even composers and even makeup artists, who get really flustered when something has to change. And at the end of the day, it's not your personal vision. This is a collaborative effort of making sure that you're bringing the director's vision and the artist's vision. So, whatever Bollywood 50s inspired situation I created, I also had to fit Saweetie's brand. So what I did for her is very different from what I choreographed for Never Have I Ever, or what I recently choreographed for Monster High, which is an animated monster, like a Barbie doll, right? So that choreography, again, is very different. You have to fit the brand. And so, yeah, I think the process really just comes down to understanding what their vision is. What is it that Joya can bring in? That's the X factor, and making sure that I can put that in a way that fits cohesively.
Yeah, and beyond that, in doing what you do, you're a huge advocate for representation in your community. I know we can touch lightly on it, but a certain song won for the first time best song
Yeah, it was
for
best
Oscars,
song, yeah,
RRR.
and also yeah, RRR,
And you were
Naatu
coming up
Naatu.
a lot on my feed because ABC actually did a story on you. Can you say why and what was so important for you to be like, I actually need to speak out about this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been discussing the situation for so many months now, and I feel like we've really exhausted it. But it's such an important conversation. So basically, RRR won Best Picture from, and it's a film from India, from a South Indian film industry. So it's not even Bollywood. What we refer to as Bollywood is the Hindi film industry based in Mumbai. So you have this film that's coming in, and they were going to do this live performance of Naatu Naatu here. And they originally had the main actors from the actual song invited to the Oscars, but they didn't end up performing. Instead, they had two phenomenal professional dancers who are not South Asian grow out their beards to look like the South Asian choreographers, and they were placed as the two leads. And in all of the casting, there was not one South Asian person on that stage. It's a South Asian song made by South Asian creatives. You have two people who are essentially just posing as South Asian when you have the original actors who did the original choreography at the Oscars. You could have just had them perform, and they weren't even asked. They were not even invited. So the real issue was that once I heard about it, I heard it through the grapevine through my friends who are choreographers in India. So before anyone even knew about the auditions, I already knew about it. So I told my agents, I said, hey, we gotta, anyway, I would love to be a part of this, whether it's choreography, consulting, being a cultural consultant to make sure you guys do it the right way, just anything. Like if they want to cast from my dance company, we have phenomenal South Asian choreographers here in LA. However, let's make it happen. And then they just told me that, oh, they've decided to just work with the dancers that the choreographers know. I'm okay with it. It's valid. Like it's a pretty normal practice. Sure, why not? And then I said, okay, fine. Even as a cultural consultant, let somebody come in. Now, after all of this, we found out that all the South Asian dancers who are professionals with agents in the industry were not allowed to even audition. Like no one was given a chance. So you're not considering anyone of the culture. You're using that culture to prop up everybody else. You're propping up people to look like they are of the culture. I mean, it was all over the place. And there was the reasoning behind it was really troubling. It was that, oh, first there aren't enough South Asian dancers who have agents. No, not quite.
Yeah.
It was such we needed to find dancers that were at a certain level to be able to take this choreography on in such a short amount of time. So you're saying that none of us can do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be me. I've said this in every interview. It does not have to be me. It can be anyone. If you want to cast two phenomenal South Asian men to dance as the South Asian dancers, do it.
Yeah, and you would probably know so many dancers if they just asked you for a couple of recommendations,
There
right?
just wasn't the effort wasn't put
Mhm.
in, and I think that was what was so troubling. And of course, our experience as South Asian Americans is so different from everybody else. Interestingly enough, I even though I got so much support from South Asians all around the world, I got the most backlash from the ones in India. They said, "Why do they always make it about themselves? You should be happy that an Indian film is on the Oscars stage. This isn't about you. You should be happy that all these white people are doing our dance." But
Mhm.
that is no longer that's no longer enough for us. That is the bare minimum. We do not need to just be able to get through the door and have our culture displayed by other people for us to be proud.
Mhm.
We've been here for years and years with agents. Our opportunities come by once in a blue moon. We have to create those opportunities, and then when they present right here in our backyard, we're not even considered for it.
Yeah.
So you don't want us to play other characters or what have you because our look doesn't fit into that. But then when it does fit, you also don't want us to be a part of that story.
Yeah. I guess on the flip side, though, has the backlash been seen more as progress?
I would say so for sure, and I think because I have really pushed myself in the recent years to enter spaces where I don't see people that look like me, it has enabled me to have conversations with the people that matter the most in the decision making process for this. So I was accepted into the Television Academy last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, I got to have a really candid conversation with one of the choreographers who was a part of the direction and casting process of it. And she was so sweet and so phenomenal. She took a moment to really listen to the pain points and to understand where they went wrong. Whereas I feel like the two directors, Napoleon and Tabitha, were really reluctant to say anything. And, their apology was probably a story on their Instagram. And at first, a lot of the responses that we saw from Napoleon were like, ha ha ha, you guys, this is like your problem. You're saying that this is the first time that you get an opportunity to be seen and you guys are complaining. Like that was sort of how
Mm.
they came forward about it. But I was able to have a conversation with someone who took a moment to listen and fully understand. And she said, I see it now.
Mm.
And now I know what we have to do differently in the future. But it's like when you directly talk to the people who you are seeing that are behind it, they're the ones that are making that conversation so difficult. The hard part is getting around behind them to the people who will stop to listen to you. And so, it's definitely progress, but it's always an uphill climb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just felt fire right there. So I'm like, that's the joyful fire, but you need to keep that burning in order to
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
So outside of all that fire, outside of all that, everything that you're known for, what are a couple of facts that the audience doesn't know about Miss Joya Kazi?
Oh. Gosh. Well, I mean, now you guys know that I'm a farmer. I love to I love to plant things. And to be honest, before the pandemic, I could not keep anything alive. Like my mom has a green thumb and
I do not.
my
Yeah.
mom had like the most beautiful roses and vegetables. Like she can take a plant that is dead and bring it to life. I don't know how, okay? And when I first moved to LA, she would always come and bring me a plant for my apartment. And then when she would come back the next time, it would be dead. And I would be like, I don't know why you keep bringing me these plants because I can't keep them alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the pandemic, I just had so much time. So, I started doing my succulents and making cute little arrangements. I love that, before I go to my friends' houses, I'll put together a little harvest basket
Aw.
with tomatoes and basil and
That
lettuce.
you all grew?
Yeah. And
Wow.
then take that over. So I love gardening now. I mean, I don't know. Like, what is to be honest, this is like one of those questions that I dread because I don't know what's cool and different about me.
I guess like when you're not choreographing or dancing or
Yeah.
acting and doing all those things that we see in the limelight, what gives you the most joy when you're just at home by yourself? Is
Yeah.
it like,
Well, here's one thing. If I wasn't a choreographer, I would love to be a food critic.
ooh,
I
okay.
love to eat.
We
I
could talk
love
about this all day.
I
Yeah.
love going places, and like my sister always says, "You're so dramatic when you eat things." Because I'll be like, you can taste the different levels of the this and the that, and the texture and the this. And she's like, "What is wrong with you? You definitely should have been a food critic." I love going to different restaurants and trying things. My favorite foods are Korean barbecue and I mean, obviously Indian food, but aside from that, I would say Thai food. But I love like going to food fairs and just like little pop-up shops to try food. And then when I'm not doing that, I love just like being in the outdoors. I love hiking, being by water, being by the beach, and just like taking it in. And again, this kind of comes from that whole thing of like I really truly understand that we have such a limited time on earth. So when I can find my little pockets of peace, I just love diving into it. And my husband and I moved in together in the middle of the pandemic after 8 years of long distance.
Yeah.
So it was a long time coming to finally be together, and
You had so much time after long distance.
a
Like,
very
long
long
distance
time.
is very long distance. How
Yeah.
far?
I mean, we were in 2 different countries. He was
Yeah.
in the Caribbean, I was out here in
So
LA.
to finally move together and
Yeah.
then it's the pandemic.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, that was also a really interesting time because growing up, always been so independent and just like living my own life. I never imagined that when we would move in together, I'd be like just at home with nothing to do. And, you know, he would come home and I'd be like crying in the bathtub trying to figure out what's gonna happen next, you know? But I feel like because we were apart for so long, that skill set of understanding like communication and that being sensitive to each other's emotions, and he's like literally the most incredible, amazing man I have ever known in my life. I'm so blessed to be able to have a partner like him in my life. But like he was so supportive and understanding throughout that, and he really just like gets like this has been my life's work. Actually, when we first started dating, he was like, you know, I gotta go to school and do my thing and I'll be far away for a long time. We'll be long distance for a long time. And he's like, but I don't want you to come move everywhere with me. Like you were born to dance. You were meant to do this. Move to LA, even if it's not LA, you just tell me what city to move to. I will
Aw.
meet you there.
Yeah.
It will be a long journey, but I will meet you there, you know? So he's always been very supportive of everything. So when I was kind of struggling, as everyone did, with like this identity crisis during 2020, he was so supportive and gentle and like, you know, helping me kind of remember the things that make me me outside of dance because it truly did become who I was. But yeah, I think now it's like just grocery shopping together, going to Costco
Oh
and
my gosh,
like
the club for over
just
30s.
yeah,
The place
yeah,
to go.
just, you know, just hanging out and spending time together. And my sister's been living with us the last year, so it's so joyful to have like my sister, my husband. We're finally all together, and you know, we'll go out on the weekends whenever we have days off here and there, go on a hike and like explore new places. And I'm really just like all about fully being present and enjoying life as it comes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've been to Fremont?
Oh, actually, it was earlier this year. So, after I did the Never Have I Ever master class, we did it here in LA. I brought it to the Bay. And so we went to Fremont and, you know, passed by my old high school, Irvington High. Shout out to all my Vikings. But yeah, it's weird. It's a very weird feeling to go back because I mean, as much as I love it, I feel like I outgrew it. And I did also have this feeling of I'm really proud that I took the leap and the chance to just believe in myself and I left because I would have never accomplished everything that I've accomplished here if I had stayed there. And it has nothing to do with like it being bad. It just wasn't the right place for me. It's Silicon Valley. It's very different set of values and opportunities, you know. But it was interesting because what I loved so much was the stark difference in the attendees that came to the masterclass between LA and the Bay Area. Here, it was very influencer vibes. We love it. You know, everyone doing their videos and like it's all for social media and like, you know, it's what we do. Like it's part of our brands and our careers. When I went to the Bay, I had so many people come and the way that they were just like quiet and fully tuned in and listening and just like it was like they were grasping onto every word of mine as I was teaching, and I could see a lot of love and this like quiet admiration there. And afterwards, when I was meeting people, signing autographs, all that usual stuff, within that, it was the stories that, you know, this is the first time I'm coming out to dance class after my divorce. I wanted to be a professional actor and a dancer, but, you know, my ex husband said that I can't now that I'm married and I have kids. Like, I feel so good coming back and seeing you do this, you know, telling me that I'm inspiring, that I'm a role model, that I'm an OG, like all these things. And I'm like, wow, I forgot how we impact people in just being ourselves.
Yeah.
But it was just such a stark difference between the two places. You know, like in LA, immediately all the videos went up, the tags happened, the commenting, the this, that, this, that. And then over there, barely anyone posted videos, but they all like messaged me like essays of like how that moment, those 2 hours impacted them in their lives and how they see themselves moving forward tomorrow.
Gosh. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for creating that impact and continuing to do so. It's
Aw.
been such a privilege knowing you since our childhood days and just seeing, and I'm just always on social, just cheering you on from afar. And now it's really such a privilege to know you and so many friends who have moved and being able to like, if I need some sort of like with your level of expertise to just reach out via text. Like that's just so wonderful to see that you haven't changed.
Oh, that means so much to me. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I mean, really to see two girls, little girls from, Ardenwood Elementary School.
Let's go Dragons, maroon and baby blue.
just making it happen and doing what it is. It's an honor and a privilege to also see you do all of this. I'm so proud to sit in this chair of the Nicki Sun Show, and I hope that this isn't the last time I'll be here. This is so fun, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And just one last plug for those who would like to reach out to you. What is the best way to? Because I'm sure there's like a business inquiry and there's fan inquiry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I'm on all social at Joya Kazi, and then joyakazi.com. You guys can always send in inquiries, and if there are any upcoming dancers, creatives, if you want to do photography or filmography in dance, or you're interested in a career in dance or theater or film and entertainment, you can always email me off of my website info@joyakazi.com, and I'm definitely there. I'm really excited to see what the next generation has, and especially now that we've created a space where we have there's room for us and our stories are being told. There's so much that can be done. So the door is open. We're waiting for you guys.
Well, thank you again, Joya, and thank you for inviting us into your lovely home. You've been watching the Nicki Sun Show. I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.